Many adults like me believe that work from home is productive and can even be a viable long-term work solution. At the same time, when it comes to home-based learning, many of us parents remain unconvinced. We reason to ourselves that kids may have limited attention span, which makes it harder for them to focus during home-based learning as compared to adults who are working from home. But is this really true? Is work from home viable but home-based learning not? More importantly, if home-based learning is indeed here to stay, what can we do to help our kids enhance their home-based learning experiences as we embrace the new normal? Joining us in this important discussion today is Clement Loh, an ex-MOE teacher who now teaches coding and engineering-related skills to students as an instructor with Now Space Robotics. We also have with us Ivan Sim, who is the REL lead at Lenovo. Guys, thank you for joining us in this discussion.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Now, Clement, you used to teach students in school as an MOE teacher. Now you teach them robotics, firstly in person in your current role as an instructor, and then now obviously virtually. How's the experience like so far?
It wasn't entirely a nightmare experience for me because I'm quite tech savvy, so I have some idea as to how to proceed, but there are still a lot of small things that I needed to adjust to. So very tiny things like unmuting my mic at the right time to speak, or even major things like how do I help to troubleshoot a student's computer when there are difficulties.
It's one of the challenges, the fact that a lot of students especially the younger ones, may not actually be so savvy when it comes to computer yet because maybe they haven't played with one or they haven't tried around.
Yeah, one of the biggest challenges is the fact that the younger kids don't know where to find the letters on the keyboard, or maybe if they type, they're typing very slowly, or even things like not quite knowing how to use a mouse, how to switch between tabs, how to mute and unmute themselves on Zoom. These are some of the teething problems.
Okay. One of the main challenges I think a lot of students have is not having the right equipment to begin with. So as compared to working adults where we take for granted the ease of transiting to a work from home environment because we already have a company issued laptops, not all students may have a laptop. To what extent do you think that hinders their ability to be effective with home-based learning?
In fact, a lot of students, their laptop was actually purchased by their parents as one, and they may not have the actual choice to choose something that they want for themselves. And a lot of time, parents may not be actually knowing exactly what the students needed for a proper application that they are running on, and high chance that they just pick a laptop from the store and then there it goes. Yeah.
Kevin, is that a problem you see where the students just don't have the right laptops, even if they have a laptop?
So some parents basically use hand-me-downs, old laptops that or second-hand laptops that they bought from somewhere else. Also bearing in mind that applications such as Zoom or other teleconferencing apps actually use up a lot of computer resources. So a lot of students end up with very frustrating experiences. They're doing things correctly, but we're not getting the correct response from the computer.
If you don't mind me asking, right, like on an average lesson, how much time do you actually spend troubleshooting problems?
Oh, I spend anywhere between 30 to 60 minutes within a 2.5-hour lesson doing troubleshooting. Partly because any time there's one issue, it actually takes a pretty long while to fix. And the only tools I have is either by talking to the student, describing the buttons they need to click, and that itself makes it very difficult.
Right, because I still remember we were doing a virtual team bonding exercise, and one of my colleagues, we were playing something that it's a bit of Minecraft. One of my colleagues didn't have a mouse, right? And yeah, I mean, you take for granted some of these things. Just when you work, sometimes you don't really need a mouse. But then when you want to play something like Minecraft, it's going to be a challenge. And as much as he was, doing his best, there is just some obvious limitations with that because you don't have a mouse to use.
Yeah, so some of my kids, when we're teaching coding, they don't actually have a mouse as well.
So it's like you're already starting at a disadvantage just to keep up with the rest, right? You are already struggling. Yeah, I think there is also a perception that some people think that home-based learning could be a temporary thing, right? So that's why sometimes parents, we are also looking for temporary solution. But is this really the wise thing to do? Because look at work from home, it's been already a year and a half, and I think home-based learning to some extent is also following suit to some extent, right? So is that something that you guys see also?
Yeah, in fact, if you talk about working from home, a lot of people who do not need to travel find that working from home is like a privilege. But for people who need to travel, and right now because of this situation, a lot of time spent is using technology for us to bridge that gap. And I would say that working from home or remotely is something that is a new area that a lot of organizations will explore, and they find it valuable, and it saves a lot of cost as well.
But what about like home-based learning? Is that something which also we need to start to recognize or accept, and it's not just something which
I would
be
say
temporary?
home-based learning will be here to stay, but probably on a hybrid mode, because students still need to interact with each other, and there are a lot of lab lessons that they need physical apparatus to work on.
A lot of top universities have already been doing programs called blended learning, or they have what we call a flipped classroom. And this involves students watch the lectures from home, they consume the materials at home, and then and only then they come to the college to do things like problem solving together. So they work on a certain task together. So they're not on campus all the time. They're only on campus for certain periods of time. Primary, secondary schools are also going to be seeing this kind of a development as well. And MOE also recognizes this trend trajectory, especially since they have started to speed up their ICT program. And as of mid this year, they've actually already started issuing laptops to some schools, students on an individual basis.
And I think that even at the secondary school levels, we are starting to use laptops for learning. Sooner or later, your kids will need a laptop, right? I think cost is always a concern. At DollarsAndSense, we always like to think of cost, right? We obviously, budget aside, we all want the best possible equipment to improve our work from home or home-based learning situation. What are some advice that we think we can give to parents?
Well, again, this is about cost, and student being students, what most parents would do will be depending on what kind of level the kids is. A lot of time, right now, we just hook onto the browser and a lot of information can be there. For students, if you ask me, if they are in K-12 or below, I think a simple one that enables them to go to the web and some minimum memory will be sufficient. Yeah.
So I guess both of us, we are pretty sure that this home-based learning is here to stay. It's like work from home. It's time to prepare ourselves, our kids, when it comes to this topic. Thank you, Clement. Thank you, Ivan, once again for sharing your thoughts on how home-based learning is. And we come to the end of this discussion, but for those of you back at home, if you have some thoughts about how home-based learning can be as effective as work from home, feel free to let us know in the comment section. Share with us your experience, and thank you for watching the show. Yeah, thanks.